Thank you, Tom, for accepting this interview invitation today.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
So, yeah, my name is Solène. I'm the founder of Creators for Good, an online consulting agency specialized in helping travelers and expatriates all around the world start and sustain impactful social businesses. And launching a crowdfunding campaign is definitely one of the key milestones on a social entrepreneur journey. And actually, I always encourage my clients to launch their crowdfunding campaign at a very early stage, for instance, with their pilot project or the 1.0 version of their product or services. And let me explain why. Most people see crowdfunding as a way of raising money, and it absolutely is. But from my experience, it's much more than that. It's also the occasion to share the word about your social business in your community and beyond. During the campaign, you reach out to media, to potential partners, and many different other stakeholders. So it's a great way to test for real the idea, see who's the most engaged, what perks are the most popular, and start creating a community of people really engaged in your cause. So in that sense, it's so important that there is a crowdfunding platform, especially for the social entrepreneurs community. So thank you, Tom, for that initiative of yours. And as an introduction, I want to give you the chance simply to introduce yourself and to tell us about Start Some Good.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's really great to be talking to you about this. And you're exactly right about the possibility that crowdfunding gives to social entrepreneurs that goes so much beyond the dollars. So my name's Tom Dawkins. I'm the co-founder and CEO of StartSomeGood.com, which is a crowdfunding platform that we built specifically to support exactly the kind of people that you work with, people who want to create a project, launch an initiative, and rally a community behind a cause that will make the world better. And the reason we thought that mattered is because much as, you know, the social entrepreneurs deserve a specific place that's built for them, and there are differences between selling gadgets or CDs and selling social change. And there are things that you learn along the way of doing social fundraising that we're able to share and guide the people on our site to help give them the greatest chance of success. And so the end result is that we actually have one of the highest success rates in the industry, and that's because we really care about the people we work with, and we're very intentional about collaborating, you know, and we're highly collaborative in working with the projects on our site to help them create crowdfunding campaigns that give them the best chance of success.
All right, that's fantastic. And I think some of the people who's gonna watch this video are either thinking of creating their own business, or they already have started a social business. So I'm sure they will be interested in the story of how you created Start Some Good. Can you tell us how the idea came and what did it take to make it a reality?
For sure. I have to go back quite a long way, I guess, to where it starts. I mean, for me, I had an amazing experience where I was 16, where I was selected to attend a conference in San Francisco. And coming out of that experience, I had these kind of two contradictory sensations. On the one hand, I felt very empowered that I'd been given this incredible opportunity. I'd met all these amazing people. They'd listened to me. They'd given me a chance to express myself on the things that I cared about. But I also felt like that was a snapshot of how youth empowerment tends to happen. That it's kind of very haphazard. It's mostly tokenistic, and it's honestly quite biased towards wealth, towards kind of young people from relatively well-off, well-educated backgrounds. And it's not a broadly based opportunity. And so coming away from that experience, while it was meaningful for me, I started thinking a lot about how could we do this better? How could we create that experience that I had, the opportunity to share my story, the opportunity to have that story listened to and respected? How could we create that for every young person in the world? And so that led me to found, by the time I finished university, I founded 3 nonprofits, all of them dedicated to supporting young people and students to get involved in political self-expression and to get involved in entrepreneurial activities so that they could create the future and create the changes that they wanted to see. And I led the third of those nonprofits for almost 9 years and grew it to spread around Australia. We used to run a film festival. We did journalism projects. We opened the first co-working space in Australia to create a hub for these sorts of young creatives and young entrepreneurs to come together so we could support each other in doing difficult, important work. When I left Vibewire, which was that organization, I moved to the United States for 4 years, and I worked for an international nonprofit called Ashoka, which is very active globally in finding and supporting and inspiring social entrepreneurs. And I was the first social media director there. And they gave me a challenge of figuring out how social technologies could help create in everyone a changemaker world. A world where every person has access to the tools, the inspiration, the support, the opportunity to be a changemaker in whatever form that meant to them. That might be, being an entrepreneur and founding something new. It might mean volunteering or supporting something that exists. It may mean donating. It may even just mean advocating and sharing with your friends. But all of us have a role to play. And all of us need to get involved in creating change if we're going to move as fast as the problems themselves are evolving. And so in thinking about that, I saw a real problem in the social sector around the financing of new initiatives. That the more innovative something was, the less likely it was to get funded by any of the traditional funding bodies. The big foundations, corporates, high net worth individuals, as they're called, rich people, governments. All of these groups are traditionally quite risk averse in the way in which they support initiatives. And that means that we simply don't get enough innovation in the social sector. We don't get to find out what works. They're waiting and ready to help scale what works, but we never actually get that opportunity to pilot things, to test things, to try things out so that we can actually discover new ways of creating change. And so while I was thinking about these issues a lot, and observing that, crowdfunding blew up in the creative communities. Kickstarter, started becoming really prominent. And in addition to my social entrepreneur and activist friends, I have a lot of artist friends. And so I started receiving all these requests to support their projects. And it actually felt really good to me to be able to support these, talented, awesome friends of mine to be able to create great work who weren't getting funded by the traditional arts funding organizations. And it didn't take long for a light bulb to go off that this is exactly the opportunity we need in the social sector as well. So I don't take a lot of credit. We didn't invent crowdfunding, but we did see it as an amazing tool that could empower change makers and social entrepreneurs, and we wanted to create something that was uniquely designed to support social entrepreneurs to create change, and that became Start Some Good, which launched in March 2011.
Okay, that's fantastic and really inspiring as well. You mentioned earlier that Start Some Good is one of the best performing crowdfunding platforms. So can you tell us so far what has been the impact of Start Some Good? So how many social businesses have you helped? In how many countries? How much money has been raised?
For sure. So we've helped a little over 350 social initiatives to launch in 30 countries, or 31 countries maybe now, and raised a little bit more than $3.5 million so far. So for us, it was very slow. We're up against some really big, well-funded, kind of more commercially oriented platforms, and it took us a long time to begin to get the word out and to begin to, make people aware of the fact that we were here and that we were here to help them. And so those first couple of years were very slow, to be honest. We really had to kind of stick with it, and if we'd been more business-oriented and less mission-driven, I guess, we probably would have pivoted or tried something new, but we really stuck with it. We really wanted to see it through, and we really wanted to help people to make a difference, and we believed that we could help people to make a difference. And so it's over about the last 18 months. Of that we've done $3.5 million in 3.5 years, but about $2.5 million of that is in the last 18 months. So we're really picking up, we're really growing fast now, and we're working with a lot of organizations around the world and some really brilliant projects that you'll see on the site at the moment, particularly from the US, Australia, Southeast Asia, and some from Europe that we'd love to get more from, and we'd love to get more from your part of the world as well.
Okay, great. And what's your ambition then for Start Some Good in the coming 3 years, let's say?
I mean, to be many times bigger again. Just we're in the early stages right now of completely redesigning and reimagining our platform. So that's really exciting to us. We've got 3 years worth of ideas and feedback and also frustrations, things that we want to work better. And we're kind of pouring all those ideas at the moment into the creation of a completely new platform. I mean, it'll do the same things that the current one does, but all of them better, and it will do a bunch of cool new stuff as well. So that will relaunch sometime mid next year, which will be really exciting. With something that I hope provides by far the best opportunity for social entrepreneurs who are looking to crowdfund. And I guess in 3 years' time, we hope that we play a similar role to what Kickstarter plays in the creative entrepreneurial community, that we are seen as the leading platform that gives social entrepreneurs the best chance to succeed in rallying the community and raising the funds they need to make a difference. And so we're here as to be a piece of infrastructure, I guess, in the social change sector. And over the next 5 years, we hope to help 100,000 projects, to go from 350 to 100,000, and to help 100 million lives, help change 100 million lives by being in the service of those entrepreneurs who are changing people's lives for better.
Okay, that's fantastic. And can you tell us maybe one success story of a social entrepreneur who ran a campaign through Start Some Good?
Yeah, there's so many stories, but look, there's one I really like because it's actually quite a modest success. I mean, I could tell you about people raising, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but one of the ones that's really close to my heart is one of our very early projects, and it was a project called Bulbous Speech. And it was a really innovative app to help people who have a stutter and to provide them with the opportunity to receive speech therapy through technology, because accessing good speech therapy, it can take years, it's very expensive, and so not everyone has that opportunity. And if you don't have the opportunity to, I guess, overcome your stutter, it really has a big impact on your life in terms of your employability, your education outcomes. And so it was founded by a guy named Jack McDermott, who himself had a stutter. And over the course of 5 or 6 years of speech therapy, he had overcome that stutter. But he realized that not everyone was going to have that same, that same opportunity that he had to receive that kind of support. And he wanted to provide something that was more accessible. And so he had this brilliant vision, and he knew what needed to be done because he himself had been from that sector, but he wasn't an app developer. So he just needed a few $1,000s. He didn't need like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. He needed about $3,000 just so he could hire a contractor to do the things he couldn't do. And where would he have got those $3,000 from once before? He was 18, first year university. He didn't have that money. A bank wasn't going to lend him that money. A venture capitalist wasn't going to give him that money. They weren't going to invest in an 18-year-old kid with no track record. And so he did what, a lot of us do now. He turned to his community and said, this is my dream, this is my vision, help me realize this. And so he was able to raise his $3,000. Not an amazing total, but it was the amount. What's important is that it was the amount he needed. It's not the total size of the budget. It's what you can do with it and the impact that you can create. And it was enough to help him launch that app. And then over the course of the next year, hundreds of people downloaded and used that app. And it actually did attract the attention of a venture capitalist, who then did invest in his company so that he could create version 2 and make it even better. And it's a great example of what you were talking about earlier, about crowdfunding at that early stage so that you can launch a minimum viable project, a pilot, an experiment, a version 1.0, whatever you want to call it. It's really important to get it out there, because it's only once you get it out there that you can begin to really learn about how people are interacting with it and how you can begin to attract the other support that you need to go further. And so without that version 1, he never would have got that funding that enabled him to make version 2. And without crowdfunding, he might not have raised the money he needed to create the version 1 in the first place. So that's a story I love, because it's not just about the crowdfunding, it's not just about that initial project, it's where it's the trajectory that can set you on towards future success.
Mm-hmm. And I really love in your story that this guy was 18 and in his first year of university, and as you said, he couldn't turn to traditional help or finance simply because you need to have a track record. And yeah, I really believe that anyone can be a change maker, and that many people should start their own social business no matter what their experience is, because you don't really, it's not so much about your experience or your background, it's more about the future, what do you want to bring and what do you want to create. So I'm really inspired by that story too. I have a last question for you. According to you and from what you see in Start Some Good, what are the, let's say, 3 main success factors to run a successful crowdfunding campaign? I want to pick your brain a little.
Well, I'll tell you what the number 1 is, and that's hard work. Honestly, crowdfunding doesn't happen automatically. What we provide is a set of tools, and we provide a lot of advice and coaching and support about how to use those tools. But then the successful entrepreneurs are the ones who take that tool and take it out to their community, and who are prepared to do what, it's hard work. It's not easy. I think crowdfunding creates an amazing new opportunity for people who didn't have an opportunity before, but it's not an easy way to raise money. It's just a new opportunity to raise money. But hard work, like a lot of things in life, is really one of the key ingredients. The other ingredient is to have, it helps if you have a cultivated community already. Now you can start without one, but it helps if the first time someone hears about your passion, it's not through the crowdfunding campaign, that you're known as someone who cares about an issue, that you have some sort of a track record. You don't need to have founded an organization or done anything spectacular like that, but even amongst your friends to have been talking about something, to be active on social media, to have built a small network of people who know that you are committed to creating a particular type of change and who will want to be part of that community with you as you launch a crowdfunding campaign and take your next step. And the third ingredient, I guess, is how well you can tell that story and the story you choose to tell. And so it's really important in crowdfunding that people have a very clear sense of where the money is going and what it's going to make possible. Crowdfunding is really different from maybe traditional philanthropy, where people would just write checks to well-known, or to the Red Cross, let's say. And they wouldn't know exactly how that money would be spent, but they'd go, yeah, they're a good organization, they'll do the right thing with it. But crowdfunding is much more personal and much more specific. People want to know who's the person behind it. How are you going to spend it? What difference will that make specifically in the world? Which lives will be changed? How will they be changed? And so I guess maybe this is a 3.1 or maybe a bonus 4, the preparedness to put yourself forward as well. Some people want to stay behind their project. They're humble or they're shy maybe, or maybe they're embarrassed about asking for money. So, that's a difficult thing to do sometimes and people don't want to. But crowdfunding is about personal connection. So for instance, in the videos, we really encourage people to get on camera. You don't need to have amazing video skills. You just need to be prepared to turn on your webcam and share your passion with the world and be really authentic about that. So authenticity is really, really important in crowdfunding.
Yeah, and especially because it's an internet tool. Internet is like a fantastic way of reaching out to many different people, but it's also kind of cold, and sometimes it leads to trust issues. So as you mentioned, putting a face on your project and explaining with your own words and with your own, gestures and everything, how passionate you are.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Tom, thank you so much for all your insights. Maybe you have a final word or final piece of advice or something you want to say to end our discussion today?
For sure. Well, if I could just maybe give a recommendation perhaps for people who do want to learn a little bit more and about what we've learned about, what we've discovered over working with 350 successful campaigns, about the same number of unsuccessful campaigns. So we've seen success and failure, of course. So we have a free email course that we provide through our site, and it's just a little pop-up at the bottom of the site, and it's called Crowdfunding 101. And if you sign up to that, you get an email every sec. You get 9 emails over the course of 18 days. And it goes into quite a lot of detail around, what you need in a video, what makes a good reward, how to tell your story, how to market your campaign. And it's quite, it's a really good amount. Even if you're planning to use a different site, I really recommend that you sign up for that email course, because it really shares a lot more information about what we've learned. And we'd love everyone just to be able to succeed, So we want people to have the information they need to do it in the right way, to give themselves the best chance of success. And if that can involve us, that would be amazing, of course. We'd love to work with anyone in your audience who is a social change maker to help them along the way.
Great. Well, I'll put the link of your website just down the video, so it will be very easy for our viewers to click and see. All
Fantastic.
right. So bye-bye, Tom. Thank you so much again. It was great.
Thank you very much for having me.